I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, October the 6th, brought to you in part by Performance Livestock Analytics. You can manage your feedlot operation anywhere, anytime with Performance Beef. Check out their easy-to-use management software at performancelivestockanalytics.com. Competition, that sounds pretty easy, or the competition part's not easy, but nothing's ever been gained worth having without competition. You know, I mean, you may be proud of your spouse, but there had to have been some competition in there for you to land her or him and to be proud of them. I mean, nothing worth having's ever been gained without some competition. You know, no trophies, no accolades, no records, no anything has been gained without some sort of competition, or else everybody would take it, right? And yet we've gotten to the point where we just puke our finished product. All of us, you know, in the cattle business, you know, you say you're in the grass business, you're harvesting your grass. Yeah, I understand that. But, you know, everybody's here listening and talking about cattle here. Our finished product is not beef. We've figured that out. If you haven't figured that out in the last 2 or 3 years, especially through this COVID and the gouging that the packers did on our consumers, our customers that we thought was our product, but that's not our product. Our product is the cattle. We're in 2 different businesses. Your packers are in the business of processing cattle for beef or fake meat, just basically any kind of a protein, because they heavily invest in that also. But you know, those that own cattle and use cattle to maintain their property, they're in the cattle business. You don't. If we were in the beef business too, we would have gotten to share in some of those monster profits. The $1,000 per head that they've been making for the last 6-8 months, the $2,500 a head they were making during the worst of the pandemic. You know, cattle people didn't get to enjoy a share of that. So we're not in the beef business, we're just in the cattle business, and we puke our cattle to the packers with no competition. And nobody wants to partake in the competition because they're scared. I guess nobody goes in and haggles on a price for a new pickup anymore. You know, you see where you can just go online, pick out what you want, just buy it right there and have them deliver it to you. You know, my dad would have 3 cussing fits and get mad at and he never dealt with one of those lowball guys. He always dealt with somebody, the main manager or the owner. It was usually Ron Clark Ford back in the good old days when you could deal with the owner of the new vehicle dealership. But I mean, have screaming fits, walk out 4 or 5 times, come back in, scratch his head, throw his hat before he ever bought a pickup. Now people just go in, and I guess the people that puke their fat cattle also just write sticker price, just write a check for the sticker price on a new vehicle. Well, why is everybody scared to haggle anymore? You don't want to hurt people's feelings or what? These packers need cattle, guys. They absolutely need them. That's what they do for a living. We established that a while ago. They process cattle to make beef, to sell beef, gouge the consumers on the way, and which hurts our overall long-term demand, because people are getting to the point where they don't think they can afford to eat the delicious grain-fed sweet steaks that you know, they can get here in this country, because it's just getting too damn high, because they've jacked the price up so much. But it doesn't take very much competition before you start yielding some higher prices. You know, I'm going to talk about that on our fat cattle, but you know, everybody's taking 122 for fats this week already. Well, we had some 123, 124 last week. Board's been up like hell this week. Why are people taking 122 and just being content with it? Well, the Consolidated Beef Producers, based here in Canyon, Texas, Casey Bradshaw and company there, they're still having the Texas Cash Pool. Nobody wants to participate in it because they all ask, well, if I participate in that, do I have to sell my cattle? Yes, You have to sell them. That's how a cash pool deal works. You put your cattle in there. He tries to get bigger numbers of head, and then they try to use that for leverage. They get sealed bids from different packers that they have relationships with, and they sell them to the highest bidder. And you don't have to be a member of Consolidated Beef Producers to do it. It doesn't cost you. It's embarrassing how little it costs you to sell those cattle on the Texas cash pool. We've only got a handful of guys that'll do it, and they can't get more than 300 head per week. But like I said, it doesn't take very much. They had less than 300 head in the Texas cash pool on Tuesday that Consolidated Beef Producers puts together. Top bid was $124.25. That's a little bit better than the top price that they got last week. Yet we got guys puking way better cattle in Iowa, Nebraska, even in Kansas at 122 this week. And there's no competition. They just, well, what are you guys giving this week? 122. Okay, I sure don't like it, but I guess if that's what you're paying, I'll take it. You know, you want to turn them in on a negotiated grid, go ahead, make it look like you're doing more negotiated sales. But, you know, it's probably just discounts in order. They got the par set too high for me to get any premiums off that. But if it makes you guys look better, go ahead and do that. It's absolutely ridiculous. We had guys haul cattle into Stockman's Livestock, Yankton, South Dakota, finished fat cattle, good as walks. That's Greg Ryken's sale there. And you know, it took guts to do that. And a lot of guys, you know, they just don't have the balls to consign him to a sale. Oh my gosh, he might charge me some commission to get that nice fat check and not get robbed once the cattle go behind the big walls in the packing plant. Yeah, he deserves it. That's what they offer there, is competitive bidding for your livestock. The bulk of the cattle sold $2 to mostly $3 higher, the fat cattle at Yankton on Tuesday. And for those guys that brought them in, yeah, it took some guts for them to bring them in. The market wasn't that great the last couple of weeks. Well, it's been tough all over. But you're still going to get competitive bidding, which I'd take any day over just, you know, whatever they decide to make you take. But the conventional cattle sold from 117.5 to 126. And you think, my gosh, that 117.5, what if mine brought that? Well, if they don't weigh 1,700 pounds, they wouldn't do that. But if you got some good, decent weight fat cattle, they've been fed honest, you come in there with an honest weigh up and sell them to them, they could bring as much as 126 conventional cattle, just straight up cattle, no bells and whistles. Well, everybody else is puking them at 122. You know, even if you know, you've had to pay some commission there, it's still helping the industry to have competitive bidding in an active market. You know, try to help the industry, and everybody just wants to help themselves. I tell you what, they'd knife their neighbor in the belly if they thought it would be just a little bit better for them. That's why we can't get our heads together and try to form some leverage in this fat cattle market. Your drug-free or non-implanted cattle sold from 119 to 126.50. You think 126.50? Yeah, that's no more than they're worth to them. They're getting enough of those program cattle and all these deals, you know, these AMAs that everybody's signing up for. You know, the one thing that they never tell you about these alternative marketing agreements is the first thing that you sign off on is when you join one of them is one packer gets all your cattle as soon as they're ready or whenever they decide to take them. You know, there's no more competition. You got to have competition, guys. You absolutely got to have it. At least one major packer was an active participant at the sale barn at Stockman's in Yankton, South Dakota. They said, well, they don't need any cattle. They're only taking, you know, maybe a small pen here from this customer, small pen here, or maybe they're just letting one of their country buyers buy 250 head, and you can buy 250 head, or you can buy 250 head. They were sitting in the sale barn, Yankton, buying load after load after load of cattle, majors, not just, your regional packers, guys. We got to have competition. We've absolutely got to have it. We've gotten to the point where we've got to have legislation to do it, to save the industry from us, because nobody's got the balls enough to ask for competition or demand it. It's really pitiful if you sit back and think about it. Let's look at the board on Tuesday. October live cattle futures were up 20 cents. We had some carryover from the technical support that we had on Monday. October live cattle ended the day at 122.82. December was down just 20 cents at 127.85. Back months on live cattle up 35 cents to up 95 cents. Feeder cattle, October feeders up $1.10. Of course, they were the most oversold, so they stood to gain the most. 156.10 on the close on October. November up $1.85 at 156.87. Your back months were all up 60 cents to as much as $1.82. So we had another good day on your futures, especially in your feeder cattle, and they've gained a bunch because they were the most oversold over the last month and a half. I mentioned the fat cattle trade, guys just puking them, just whatever your packer guys want to give, that's good enough for me. Hell, they worry so much about what the cost of gain is, what the cost of production is, all this, and then just puke them when they get done. Iowa sells 1,000 at 122 and 192 to 196 dressed. Nebraska only 600 at 122 and 193. Kansas 800 at 122, and the only cattle that sold in Texas negotiated was the Texas Cash Pool at 124 and a quarter. Now, did Texas suddenly get the best cattle in the 5-area feeding region? Hell no. But they get a $2.25 premium because of that little bitty dab of competition that they're demanding there. Box beef cutout values were lower on the choice, higher on the select. Maybe they're starting to find a little bit of footing here, but choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon, 287.71, down $1.47. Selects 267.78, up 262. Your slaughter has been going at a pretty good clip this week, and we're expecting a good clip this week, and then going back to some of those I call them rolling darks, but they're just cooler cleaning, mechanical problems, stuff like that. We'll be going back to that here in the next week or two. But this week they kind of need some product, so looking like they're going to have a decent harvest this week. 242,000 just up through Tuesday, 6,000 better than last week, 6,000 better than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about what else is going on. I want to talk to you about the Bieber Red Angus Ranch fall sales. Now, if you want some really, really top quality Red Angus genetics, you've got to be looking at these fall sales. They call them Bieber Fever, which is pretty catchy there. But the videos are now available on the 55 head of coming 2-year-old bulls and the 10 bred heifers registered that are going to be on the Bieber Fever in the Southeast sale, and that's going to be in Swainsboro, Georgia, and that's going to be on October the 14th, which is coming up here right away. Then the big sale that's on the ranch in Leola, South Dakota, the Bieber Fever Fall Female Sale, that's going to be on Thursday, November the 11th, which is not that far off either. So if you guys want to look at the videos on there, those videos will be available soon within the next week or so. They're going to have registered bred heifers, bred cows, a bunch of coming 2-year-old bulls. They're also going to have some commercial Red Angus heifers on there that are bred. And you can get the videos to that big Bieber Fever Fall Female Sale here within the next week or so. But if you'd like a catalog, just get online and go to BieberRedAngus.com and you can look at some more information on those. You can get a hard, paper catalog right there, but they'll have some of the best Red Angus genetics you can find anywhere. What else is going on too? I want to tell you about the South Coffeyville Stockyard in Oklahoma. They had their fall video special. at the barn. So South Coffeyville Stockyards there, South Coffeyville, Oklahoma, right on the line of Kansas. And they had their fall video special. They had it at the barn. The last video special they had, we had at Pawhuska, and we may have had too much fun there. I don't know. I was there helping take the bids on that, and we may have just had too much fun. Not sure. But for this fall video special, Tidal and Layton had there with South Coffeyville Stockyards. They featured 35 loads on that video sale. It was through dvauction.com. They sit there and took the bids right there. Didn't have a huge crowd there in the barn, but had a lot of online bids, and the sale was pretty active, and they had some really impressive quotes off of there. He shared those with me. I'm going to tell you about one of them. Consignment that came from the Osage Nation Indian tribe there, based in near Pawhuska, Oklahoma. It included in there, I'm going to give you the best quote that I saw, 485 head of steers for late or last half of October delivery, right there around Pawhuska. 515 pounds. Now they'd be off the cow, and $184. Pretty impressive deal on nearly 500 head of those steer calves. But South Coffeyville Stockyard is going to be having those video specials seasonally, but on a regular basis. So if you guys are interested in that, get a hold of them. Also want to tell you about my friend Tom Fry, who I've known and respected for a long time, and he's moved back home, I guess you could say, back to Colorado. That's where he's from. It's not that he was craving the politics from Colorado, but he probably craved the mountain air. But he left Iowa, went back to Colorado there, and now working with Centennial Livestock, and that's in Fort Collins, Colorado there. And he's a big asset to that auction company there. He asked me to tell you guys about the Condit Ranch at Saratoga, Wyoming. This Thursday, they're bringing in 350 head of fancy home-raised Angus grass yearling steers. You can't find them anymore, guys. There's not any available anymore. But 350 grass yearlings, black, top of the line, weighing from 850 to 900 pounds, going to be at Centennial Livestock this Thursday. So mark that on your calendars too. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market and your sales. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 151 even. That was up a quarter. Some of your big sales, I'm going to give you several quotes if you guys like to hear them. How about Ozarks Regional Stockyard, and that's in West Plains, Missouri. DV auction customer had 2,300 head through the ring, another 500 head on their in-house video that's active almost every single week. They do that with DV auction there, and it never misses a beat. The market there, calves steady to $4 higher, yearlings not well tested, so good sale there. How about Philip the Giant? Big sale for them, 5,500 head thereabouts in Philip, South Dakota. Market report through Federal State Market News said steers steady to $3 higher, feeder heifers were steady to $3 higher, heifer calves steady to $3 lower. But look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central with DV Auction. You can look at your best tested weights there and kind of get an idea of what cattle are worth. 864 head of 4-weight steer calves, averaged 454 with a weighted average price of $189.42. 1,472 head of 5-weight steer calves. They'd be as good as you'd find anywhere. They averaged 538 pounds at $180.92 on the weighted average price. Look at some of the heifers. 750 head of the 4-weight heifer calves averaged 457 at $167.89 on the average. And 544 head of your 5-weight heifers averaged 543 at $158.25. Pretty good market there at Phillip. Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, no man's land, Oklahoma Panhandle. Look at these load lots that I pulled, weighing 700 to 900 pounds out of Beaver. The stickout deal, of course, is the lightest ones. 58 head of 700 smooth pound steers there, $168 for 700-pound steers, a load of them. And then they had like 4 loads of those light to middleweight 8-weight steers, and they bring from 155.5 to 158.50, and then one big mixed load of steers weighing 862 at 147.35. Pretty good market there in Beaver, Oklahoma. How about some other quotes around the circuit? North Platte Stockyards, my friend Kyle Lehman has breathed life into that old market and got it up and going good. And if you guys are in that area, I think you should check it out. North Platte Stockyards on Tuesday sold 59 head, 591-pound steers at 176.35, weighing that close to 600 pounds. How about a market I've never talked about before, but the manager sent me a nice note last week after I talked about them whenever they hosted the regional qualifier for the World Livestock Auctioneer Championship. But Producers Livestock in Salina, Utah they had 75 head, 409-pound steer calves, bring 169.50. Now they're way out there in the middle of kind of nowhere, and it takes a lot of trucks to get those cattle kind of where you'd want them. But you know, that's an impressive quote for where they're at. I was impressed with the cattle when I watched the regional qualifier last week. And but if you guys think that some of those calves would work for you, that might be a place you want to seek them out. You better get your trucks lined up before you go. How about Messina, Iowa? The sale barn there at Messina sold a load of professionally assembled steers there that were backgrounded locally there. They weighed 786-pound black steers, bring $163. Impressive quote there. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, I talked to Rick at Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota. Now hang on to your hats now, boys. Right there at Glacial Lakes Livestock on Tuesday, they sold 108 black steers, weighed 960 at 161.75. Wow, that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.